Everyone, it's Zach with Palantir Research. Got some breaking news that is disappointing for Palantir investors regarding their business with the German government, but it's not all bad, so I'll go over that, but it's a long article here because it is good in giving context to the situation, so forgive me if I'm not too read up on German politics, but from going through the article, you get the basic setup. So first, we know Palantir will not be, at least at this point in time, be evaluated or even given a chance to be deployed across the nation of Germany as a police tool. The 3 states that are currently using Palantir and are their customers submitted a resolution proposal at a conference of interior ministers to see if Palantir's police analysis software can be considered for nationwide rollout. Their reasoning was to improve the analytical skills of the federal and state police authorities in order to combat serious and organized crime. So similar to the United States, there's some level of coordination between federal and state authorities when jurisdictions overlap. And this proposal to get this done is based off the 3 states of Hesse, Bavaria, and North Rhine-Westphalia, or NRW, and that's being led by the Hessian Ministry of the Interior. So in their own words, they see Palantir as, quoting from them, absolutely necessary and immediately and noticeably improve the analysis capabilities for both police forces. And for some background, Palantir has been in discussions around Germany to see if this is something they truly want to roll out across the country, and Bavaria actually put together a framework back in 2022 with Palantir to coordinate this open access between everyone. And Palantir's technology basically promised that their program would allow different police forces across the nation access to databases at the same time, and then do cross connections and make everything visible to everyone. But this is where Palantir messed up at being too good at their job, basically, so critics are afraid of data protection issues. I guess Alex Karp can talk all they want about data protection and putting things in place and auditability of their products, but sometimes it just isn't enough if you're not a homegrown application. So I'm going further down the article here. It gives more background on Hessen using Palantir for a long time now, since 2017, and with all this background on the proposal, they're trying to get approval from other interior ministries to even allow the evaluation of a nationwide rollout of Palantir to be added for discussion. But the only ones who did were the ones who are current customers. So basically, it didn't make the list, thereby killing this. And at the end, they decided not to set up a platform operated by the federal government. So that was only the union countries rejecting the proposal first. But on top of this, the federal government of Germany also rejects the software, and it sounds more political to me than actual performance reasons. So with the failure of the proposal from Hesse's Interior Ministry says, it's very unfortunate that the federal Interior Minister of all peoples is denying her authorities the modern analysis tool for tactical reasons. And I know I'm an outsider, so maybe there are political games going on, but still, it wasn't even given a chance to be evaluated. And then jumping to this CDU-led ministry, so I'm guessing a different party or faction of politics there, they just said no technical need has been identified that is served exclusively by the software from Palantir could become, and no technical requirements that require the use of the software. And then another faction called the SPD said, priority of European solutions for larger procurement projects in the security sector. So it really comes down to a preference for homegrown products. I feel like I've been saying this in my last few recent videos, especially when I talked about this new French competitor trying to go for France's government business, even though they're kind of just a hodgepodge of companies. And this is a real example of it taking place in Germany, affecting the business for Palantir. And this is even compounded further by another quote, there must be no mixing of sovereign activity with private data processing interests, and in this respect, it is the responsibility of the politicians and the authorities to find a solution quickly. And then another person too is calling for independent developments by the authorities with source coding being available. So all of these arguments are the same every single time. Governments want to control or feel in control when they build their own products. But the reason Palantir has been so successful in government business is because they work with the governments and they actually work their products. And then governments actually suck at building things that they need. And they go over budget, over their timeline. And in the end, it still doesn't work, or it doesn't work as well as they want it to. And now, I'm not saying the German government is exactly the same and they're not going to do well at this. And I get the political aspect of using Palantir or not using it, but you're talking about being able to do better investigation and coordination between your police forces. If you have organized crime that spans across the country per se, you're going to have individual police forces investigating the same thing, where they're only going to see the things that are available to them and don't know if that's actually a pattern shared across the country. But what do I know? I'm not in law enforcement or work in law when it comes to gathering evidence while protecting individual rights, so I guess there may be complications there. But at least in the end, it looks like the current customers of Palantir can continue to use them. So basically, these quotes are saying they will continue to use Palantir within their legal requirements and will report their positive experiences. So they don't sound like they have buyer's remorse, especially if they're trying to advocate Palantir's usage across the whole country. But they did have to end on a sour note too of this article, so I'm not really sure where this stands. Basically saying that Palantir was previously also used by Europol, but was abolished because it didn't meet any requirements. But then that's it, so it doesn't cite anything specific. So what are my thoughts on all of this drama in Germany for Palantir? I'll start with the positives. Well, it doesn't sound like Palantir lost any business. It really shows their success with their current customers of the 3 states of Hesse, Bavaria, and North Rhine-Westphalia, or NRW. They were willing to submit a proposal and back it up, even though there would be political consequences of doing so. And based on their politicians' quotes, finding or building a product to do what Palantir does doesn't sound like it exists yet, because they're still figuring that out, or even figuring out who should that be. So if they want something inferior or theoretical or vaporware, it sounds like it's their choice and that's what they're going to go with. Now, negatively though, Palantir does lose a big opportunity to expand greatly in Germany due to this political climate. And I hate knowing ahead that this would be an issue, but even if Palantir's product works great, provides value, and even demonstrates it within that country, the political reputation of not being European or German made puts them at a severe disadvantage, at least for these specific markets. So international government clients, I mean, this hopefully doesn't affect commercial clients, but for government specifically, we'll see if this actually takes a turn for the worse or it spreads to other countries, especially in Europe. The quotes against Palantir basically say they want something made there and something they can control, even though they don't know how to build this kind of software. So nothing about, wow, Palantir didn't work correctly or is abused by these 3 states. So it's not like there's anything against Palantir. The arguments were just, we just don't want to use them. And another negative that I thought of, which I mentioned in my French competitor video, is this setting an example to the rest of Europe that they should also reject Palantir too. Does everyone have to go through that trial and error process of building their own software or testing something out with their own companies when there's literally a product ready to be implemented that works and has a proven track record? It's already being embraced by the Ukrainian forces, but who knows? Maybe the political implications really are there and makes it difficult for them to be stuck between a rock and a hard place, where if you go with Palantir, you could be seen as, oh my gosh, now there's a foreign entity in our own government, versus, oh my gosh, now they're wasting our money building out something that doesn't work. But it seems like it's a lose-lose situation for them, at least. I don't know if that's actually true. So it's frustrating naturally as a shareholder, but it's part of the business when you work with any government, and all we can do is trudge along and move on. I mean, we are in a huge advantage in the largest market of the United States. So it's not all bad considering that's our domestic market. We don't have to deal with the issue of being a foreign company to do business with the US DoD. But I'm curious to know your thoughts on all this, if you're worried about this pattern happening or starting to show in Europe on wanting to use homegrown software for government purposes. But let me know below, and I'll see you in the next video.